Welcome back to the Fleet Lead podcast. I'm Jeremy Wolfe with FleetOwner.com, and here we are in Las Vegas in a really lovely recording studio right after the close of transportation technology company Samsara's user conference, Samsara Beyond. I'm here with Arpan Podduturi, Samsara's new VP of Products, to talk a little bit about some of the company's new features, where it's headed, and so on. So Arpan, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Appreciate the time.
It's great to have you here. Could you give me a little introduction? For someone who's listening to this who has never heard of Samsara in their life, really quickly, what does the company do?
We work with the biggest physical operations companies in the world, and we help them digitize their business. We help them become more efficient, safe, and that includes building hardware that's custom designed for the field. It includes generating proprietary data sets that they can then analyze and figure out how to optimize around. And so it's a variety of use cases and a variety of industries, but with a heavy emphasis on vehicles that move. So a lot of active fleets, airlines, mines, oil refineries, and the like. There's a ton of industries that we support.
Step vans, garbage trucks, Class 8 tractor trailers.
Yeah, all of it. All of it.
Okay. And you've been with the company for a few months now. You just sort of gotten your start in transportation technology product management, but you've had quite a bit of experience with product management before that. How has your introduction to Samsara been?
It's been great. I think the best part is going and visiting customers out in the field. Have done a bunch of customer visits, walked around massive warehouses and massive construction sites, and just kind of hearing the firsthand problems that they face and challenges. They are often really practical in nature, and it is about just diagnosing the problem, figuring out how we can help them with either custom hardware or AI or the application of technology to a problem, and it will often save them millions of dollars every year. So it's very rewarding that way.
And it sounds like a pretty busy couple months. You've been hopping around to a bunch of locations, even intercontinentally.
Yeah. I visited some customers in the UK a few months ago, and then more recently have been down to North Carolina, to Michigan, San Francisco, all over.
And when you talk with some of these customers, do they have very similar problems? Is the UK's fleet management issues, vehicle management issues, very similar to what we have here, even if the market conditions and regulations are different?
There are some common threads for sure. I think how to run your fleet efficiently, how to eliminate and reduce risk, how to coach effectively, vehicles that need maintenance. Tracking products that are high value across different sites, operational kind of awareness about what's going on out in the field. So those are the common themes, but the implementations are very specific to every customer. They're very tailored to how they run their operations.
And funnily enough, each of those common threads were touched on earlier this week at Samsara Beyond. I think it was Wednesday. A huge host of product and feature announcements. Some of them were really neat. I've already written a little bit about them, and I'd love to ask you about them. It sounds like every one of those threads was touched on by some of these products and features. Let's run through some of them. Maybe starting with AI dash cam. I think there are some new features for that, right?
Yeah, we've got new detections that have come out more recently. We have new cameras, including bird's eye view, so giving drivers, particularly who are driving in high density areas, that full 360 visibility. We have our 360 cam, which is industrial grade, designed to perform in extremely hot and in extremely cold environments, extremely lightweight and unobtrusive. And so that lives on vehicles that are on the tarmac, are on construction sites and the like, and it gives you that 360 view. So it's all about helping our drivers understand the context around them and avoid risk. And so a number of new detections that run on the edge, a number of new hardware devices that will generate a ton of new data for us and make the system smarter and overall our detections higher performing.
For the 360 cam, I'm imagining like forklifts, maybe cranes, whatever those cabs are on tarmacs. I don't know what they're called, but the little vehicles that hold luggage.
Yep, even
and
like
fuel.
catering carts. It's like it's very multi-purpose, and I think that's the magic of that device. You can pretty much affix it to anything that moves, and you can get a 360 view of what's going on. So, you can zoom, you can see the whole road without a lot of extra tech. So it's pretty incredible.
I could attach it to a hobbyist drone and fly it around and get that full 360 view wherever.
You could do that, yeah.
Okay, cool. The bird's eye view, very similar. It has multiple cameras that are fused together with Samsara's technology so that you'd get a really good view of a surrounding area.
Yeah.
Could you tell me more about what the multicam's bird's eye view is?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a number of cameras that you can affix to, depending on the vehicle, around the vehicle, backwards facing, forwards facing, to the side, above, all of that, and we stitch these views together to give you that full picture. A lot of what we showed in the demo was about pedestrian collision warnings, which are obviously incredibly valuable, particularly for customers who are running things like school buses, for example. And so we are very, very hyper aware of the importance of that one. But I think we shared a stat that a very, very small percentage of driving happens while backing up, but it's about like a quarter of accidents. And so giving drivers that visibility into what's happening way behind the cab, and developing solutions that work for massive vehicles as well as box trucks, really, really, really helps us support the full gamut of physical operations customers.
And what vehicles is this suited for? I imagine like a garbage truck, a box truck. Not articulated tractor trailers, right?
We can support an articulated tractor trailer. It's a separate kind of installation, but we support all of those vehicles.
Sweet. And then this multicam is not a traditional multicam. It has a little bit of a hardware difference to better support the fusion of all the camera angles, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it has AI running inside of it, edge detections that work on custom models that we train. We do 100 billion miles or more every year, which is just insane scale. And given all the road that we see and all the driving behavior that we see, you can imagine these models get very, very good very quickly.
And those edge AI models detect pedestrians and vehicles?
Pedestrians, vehicles, low-hanging wires, potholes, graffiti, whatever you want them to detect, essentially. And we've got our tried and true detections that are really the outward-facing are about close following, speeding, the highest risk events. We've got inward-facing that detects mobile usage or drowsiness or other risky behaviors. The interesting thing that we find is actually that it's the confluence of these factors that drive the most risk. It's pretty intuitive, right? Like if you're speeding, going 5 over on an empty highway on a perfect day, there's some risk. It's not the same kind of risk as if you're speeding on a curvy road and it's raining at night and you're following too closely.
Yeah.
And so what we're able to do now is we take these edge detections, we can upload them to the cloud, run inference against them, figure out where these riskiest moments are, and deliver that to a coach such that they're looking at things with a full level of context. And they can say, hey, like, not this event is different than this moment. This moment feels like it's something I can coach around, and I have a full understanding of the environmental context.
And a coach might want to know a little bit more about, the severity of risk. And Samsara also released a new feature that helps triage some of the different risk levels, right?
Yeah, exactly. What we've found, we have a paper coming out soon on this that kind of goes into great detail and our methodology and all of that. But the kind of high level is as you look across the entire Samsara network, you find that the top 10% of drivers in terms of risk drive about a third of the accidents across the network. Top 25% riskiest drivers drive about 2/3 of the crashes across the network. And oftentimes these drivers will overlap with kind of newer drivers. There's so much turnover in the industry. And so we're trying to help coaches identify the drivers to really focus on, to have the in-person conversations, let AI handle and driver self-coaching handle the majority of drivers who are actually driving quite well. We have their safety scores, we understand how they're doing. And so it just allows an organization to be much more focused and surgical in terms of how they want to coach to reduce impact across their fleets.
It seems like a lot of transportation management, driver management is focusing a little bit more on those interactions drivers have with AI models.
Yeah.
Large language models, AI generated voices to help tell them things, communicate with them, and even coach them if they're not the highest priority driver in terms of risk, right?
Exactly. I mean, we look at this as a new era of driving where we don't have to communicate with alerts anymore. We can be proactive in terms of how we are communicating with a driver, and we can scale that infinitely. So we can reach every driver in a 6,000 person fleet for every stop that they're making along the way. We can geofence alerts and say, hey, at this stop, we're going to give you your last mile instructions. And when you leave, we're going to reroute you to the best possible place based on traffic conditions, weather conditions, eliminating risky left turns, eliminating construction zones. I mean, it's just incredible super intelligence that every driver has access to. And I think it is reorienting a driver's relationship with Samsara. You will see us push the envelope here where drivers can access Samsara more directly and where they can query the agent for information about their upcoming drive, about changing conditions, about anything that they would look at a screen for. Really, we are trying to eliminate the temptation that comes with a screen. We all know you pick up the phone for one thing, you end up spending 5 minutes on another thing, and drivers just cannot have that luxury. In the cab, we do not want them doing that because it correlates so highly with risk. And so the more that we can channel through voice, the better and safer our roadways will be. And so voice is just becoming incredibly powerful with access to LLMs. And as the LLMs get better and the tool calls that we're building across Samsara, you can just imagine this thing becoming incredibly powerful and helpful for drivers.
And this voice communication you're talking about, this is a new feature, the two-way voice communication that drivers can have with dispatch through their dash cam or with an AI model through their dash cam?
Exactly. And so, dispatchers now, we talk to some dispatchers and we ask them, how do you reach your driver? Well, we call them or sometimes we text them. It's like, wow. Like you're just really, you're really putting them in a bind. And so what we're trying to do is use the camera that's already in the cab. You already bought those. You already have those cameras. They're already installed. They're incredibly capable. They're doing so many things for you. They can do this one other thing, which is they can help you have a real-time conversation with your driver. Our network is dual SIM. It's incredibly reliable. It works in the most remote regions of the country and around the world. And so we really think it's like the beginning of a new era for drivers and dispatchers to use voice at the center of kind of the entire experience.
Yeah, if you had a fleet of 6,000 drivers and you wanted to have a dispatcher tell them when they're geofenced into a certain customer location, that's like thousands and thousands and thousands of calls a day.
It's not possible. I mean, it's just like it just logistically doesn't make any sense. So, and this is where agents, they scale infinitely. You can set up custom business rules. You can set up custom triggers. Suddenly you have drivers who are much more aware, and all that tedious back for, I have to call somebody, they text me, they're not around, I'm going to wait for 5 minutes, I'm idling here, I'm burning fuel. There's a line behind me, all that stuff. It compounds, and you just think you shave off 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here. Suddenly your business is 5 or 10% more efficient, which is saving you millions if you're a huge fleet every year.
Yeah, if that works smoothly, then, far less screen time, far less distracted driving, trying to get in contact with a dispatcher. If you have a quick question, you can just say it out loud.
That's right. Yeah, you can say it out loud, and you can imagine, reaching an agent for those things as well. And in many cases, the agent will have access to an incredible amount of data across Samsara. Samsara works with a bunch of third-party partners. We ingest a lot of third-party data. And so it becoming the brain for your business across all of these different areas, from maintenance to fleet to telematics to safety, it just becomes a really powerful system.
And if the value proposition works out, I imagine you would say it's very likely that the future of driving is very, very heavily focused on maybe even majority of AI interactions drivers would have, rather than human dispatcher interactions?
Yeah, I think it'll depend on the organization, but we're really excited about drivers having access to super intelligence. We're excited about dispatchers having access to super intelligence. The confluence of those things make our businesses more efficient, our customers more efficient, saves them money, reduces their risk, and so it's directly on the nose for us in terms of how we want to help our customers.
I imagine the value proposition probably works quite a bit more in maybe long-haul trucking than, step van package delivery, because in long-haul trucking, if you get near a customer location and you want to know what dock you're going to go to,
Yeah.
Are you going to pull over? Are you going to have to ask somebody and take out your phone?
Yeah.
You can just ask that, assuming it's already been coordinated among the dispatcher.
Yeah, that is one use case. I do think there are a number of interesting use cases, probably more around routing and telematics and things like that are specific to higher density areas. And we have custom detections that we are building for those kinds of use cases. So you think about like waste management, service verification, bin overflow. These are kind of like paper cuts for a waste management company. And these are, they build up into huge business lines that are untapped for these companies. And so if we can help them with that, we think there's a lot of opportunity. Similarly for, school buses, who are you picking up? Who are you dropping off? Are these the right stops that you're making along the way? Are you driving the most efficiently? Are you missing stops? These are things that happen every day across towns and cities all over the country and around the world. And if you can reduce those by 2, 5, 10%, you are really making an impact. You are really saving a lot of people a lot of time.
Yeah, our bus drivers currently receiving alerts, if any of them are using Samsara, if they miss a stop? Is that something in operation right now?
We've got that that feature we're piloting with a few customers, and getting a bunch of doing it as we do, getting their feedback and iterating on it.
I couldn't imagine. It would be pretty difficult to do that with only human interactions, trying to get the bus driver's attention, trying to communicate with them at all while they're driving.
And our teammates have ridden on school buses with school bus drivers and full buses packed full of kids. They have several devices. It is incredibly stressful. But, the more that we can cut through and prepare a driver before time, proactively, here's what your route looks like. Here's what you're picking up. Here are the stops. We're going to visualize the route for you. We're going to make sure and tell you if you've missed a route so that you can course correct in the moment instead of having to dispatch another bus or coordinate with the parents or or turn your bus around and go back, and it throws off your entire route. So again, incredibly practical everyday use cases that compound into a ton of value for our customers.
And drivers aren't the only ones finding themselves with more interactions with large language models, right? A lot of back office operations are using them.
Totally.
Samsara has an AI studio for prompt development and interaction with data. A maintenance workflow integrations. Just tell me a little bit more about those.
I think the big shift that we're seeing now is customers who have access to all of this data now have the assistant in Samsara. And that assistant is, of course, super intelligent. And so you can ask it almost anything about your business in natural language, and it will give you an output that is effectively a table for what you're looking for. And so a lot of the customer interactions that we've had historically have been about building dashboards for customers. We are finding now that the technology is so good that customers can now, with no on-ramp, no learning curve, go and build their own dashboards. They can just, whatever is important or whatever has crossed their mind in that day, they can go and build those dashboards. They can build a query and say, who are my top 10 riskiest drivers for the last week? I want to create a KPI report, and I want to send this to turn it into a PDF and send this out on Monday mornings to my executive team. And we heard from one customer that told us that doing that saved them $100,000 a year.
Wow.
Just in terms of time and the data that they were finding and the actions that they were taking based on that data. And that took them 15 minutes to build. Oh. I mean, it's just like these things are cropping up everywhere. There are use cases that are cropping up everywhere, and we're just at the earliest innings with Agent Studio, but seeing so many use cases that our customers are bringing to bear.
And we've seen a lot of technology vendors vendors that fleets interact with their data, since maybe the big boom of large language models, they've been adopting large language models as these chatbots that can interact with your data in structured ways. And this goes a little bit beyond that because it includes a lot of these recurring actions that you can just tell a chatbot, hey, every week give me this KPI report based off of these metrics.
These are longer running jobs. They're a longer horizon. They are agents that are using more discretion. The interesting thing is like we are seeing a bunch of our customers use the voice agents that we have in the dashboard, just the voice mode of Samsara Assistant, sort of talking to the agent all day. And it's like, okay, I'm building these queries. Like now I'm going to turn to maintenance. I'm going to start thinking about what are the trucks that I need to get off the road. What are the most preventative actions that I can take? And you can see in the traces the behavior that is like, okay, this has gone from a purpose-built kind of intentional query to a co-pilot or co-processor that's with a back office employee all day long. And you see the behavioral ramp. It's really incredible to watch.
People are really like relying on it, not seeing it as just a novelty tool to interact with data.
Yeah, it's just for every query. It's for every question that you have, you default like reflexively to the assistant, and the assistant is just giving you feedback in real time. And so those things compound, and the assistant gets smarter the more context that it works across your business, the more context that you give it. And so these customers are like way out here in terms of their advancement with AI. And the learning curve is like a couple days. You just kind of sit with the AI and ask it questions as you would a really smart teammate, and you're seeing that behavior change happen so fast. It's incredible to see.
One of the large language model applications that I find super, super interesting was one that was showcased on Wednesday, maintenance integrations, natural language queries for what an error code might be. And even if a hardware problem based off of that error code is covered under warranty.
Yeah. I mean, this is the power of those third-party integrations. So, I think the point that one of the speakers made was that, I think it was Sanjit, he basically said, look, we talked to a lot of fleet companies, and while they have warranties, the paperwork is just so tedious. It's so onerous to go through like every checklist and does this qualify? What are the things that I need to figure out? What do I need to fill out? Where do I submit this? All of that paperwork. And so they get to about 50% of the claims that they could claim against. And with AI, we are automating so much of that. It's just taking the tedium and toil out of this work. And it is their right. These are warranties that they have access to. And so the more that we can streamline that for our customer, the more value they're getting. So it's again, an incredible use of a super intelligent agent that has access to all these tools from within Samsara, 20 trillion data points across the network, all of our third-party API integrations. It is the single pane of glass for an entire business across fleet, safety, maintenance, tracking, and so much more now.
The demonstration we saw on the main stage for maintenance, there was a really interesting data point. I can't remember the exact number, but it was something like based off of these 500,000 Freightliner Custodias, where we've seen this very specific error code, there's a strong chance. No, we've seen like maybe 0.25% of them have this error at this amount of time, and there's a something percent chance that this error code will progress into a more challenging error code over time.
Exactly. I mean, so if you think about our customers, maybe they have access to 100 Freightliners, and they think they know a lot about Freightliners, and they definitely do. They have a ton of intuition and history. But to get to a statistically significant probability, you really do need this scale. And truly, I think only Samsara has that level of scale.
Yeah, who else would?
So we can look across tens or hundreds of thousands of vehicles and say, with statistical significance and certainty, here are the ways in which you should approach your maintenance program. So I think you're seeing some new product development that is really relying on our scale and makes our scale unique with tracking labels, for example. Like the only way that works is if you have Samsara's network density. No one has our network density. We're on 99% of roads across the United States at all times. And so the way it works is the mesh network actually forms because you are around Samsara vehicles, whether you know it or not, at all times, right? No one can do that. You can't do that with Wi-Fi. You can't do that with with NFC or other technology. Like, you have to have this network density. Ground intelligence, similarly, like, ground intelligence works because we do over 100 billion miles annually. And so at every road, we know within a few seconds or minutes what the conditions are, what the traffic patterns are, what the road looks like, physically what it looks like, not just what the weather says, what it actually looks like. And so you're beginning to see us flex in these ways that are using the scale that we've built up over the last 10 years to benefit our customers.
And speaking of Samsara's vast network of vehicles and data, something I've been just learning about this week is the Bluetooth network that Samsara has. This huge number of devices all connected, and they're almost all listening for short-range radio signals to help identify the location of assets. And Samsara just made a very exciting asset tracking announcement on Wednesday as well. What was that again?
Yeah, it's an asset tracker that has power and tracks a package for around 4 weeks. Once it gets to the end location, you can just take it off, throw it in the trash. It stops working. So it's really specifically designed for tracking, high volume package or high value packages that you want to be certain about. And if you look at kind of traditional freight package tracking, you're really kind of guessing at where it is at any moment in time. And your partners are asking you where it is. The last place you saw it was in Kalamazoo. We don't have any more information, right? With something like this, you, for a very low cost compared to the asset that you're tracking, you have complete certainty with where it is down to the minute. And I think that's going to be a game changer for our customers who are looking for that level of certainty. Especially, you're shipping GPUs around, you're shipping high value products around. You just want to know. And so many of our customers are asking for it. So many of our their partners are asking for it. So it just felt like a no-brainer for us.
When I think of an asset tracker, I think of a black hard plastic, maybe the size of a cube of a very, very large horse pill.
Yeah.
Is this about the right size of what we're talking about?
This is purpose built for to do a ton of volume, and so it's basically like a sticker. But it's not an ordinary. It's paper thin, but not an ordinary sticker. It has Bluetooth, battery. It has sensors. It's incredibly high tech, incredibly efficient from a cost perspective, and incredibly purpose built for tracking high value products through the supply chain down to the level of granularity that truly no one else in the industry offers.
I saw it, and it really did look just like a sticker.
It's
incredible. Was about the exact same dimensions. Yeah. The only way you could find out it wasn't is if you tried to rip it in half, and it was just solid. It was just too tough.
Yeah, our hardware team, they're mad scientists. They went into the lab and created something that's pretty incredible.
So there's a lot to be excited about. World is exploding with all these different AI applications, natural language interfaces, computer vision, so much smarter asset tracking. It's an order of magnitude more updates on the location of an asset than traditional scan to locate.
Yeah,
really exciting time, huh?
It's incredible. I think the big the meta shift in the industry over the last, I would say, 9 months has been we've gone from effectively token maxing to what's the ROI on the AI that I'm buying. And Samsara is just so disciplined on ROI. The entire business is built around ROI. We offer free trials for all of our customers for so many of our products, and we model out the ROI for them, and we really try to give them incredible multiples on that ROI. And so we've done that historically with our safety programs, with our routing programs, our fuel efficiency programs, our compliance programs. And now you're seeing it with AI. We just take that same discipline and we say, look, you can go and buy tokens off the shelf and go nuts with them. You're going to burn a lot of tokens inefficiently, or you can work with us and we will model out specific use cases designed for your business based on us understanding this industry and physical operations over the last 10 years. companies are talking about forward deployed. We've been forward deployed for 10 years. Like, this is all we do. We're obsessed with our customers and physical operations. And so we find these use cases that are incredibly ROI positive for them, whether they're ride-alongs or agent calls or drowsiness interventions or maintenance agents. These are all things where you can point to it and say, if you do this, you can save money down the line, you can save time, you can save headaches, and I think that's a really rare position to be in for Samsara. We're excited about that.
Awesome, Arpan. Thank you so much for talking with me here today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
And thank you, listener, for listening. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel or the Fleet Lead podcast at wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you in the next one.